In my last life, my sister married a gruff pig farmer. Meanwhile, I was coaxed by our town's busybody into marrying the local good-for-nothing, Jake Dogan. Who could have guessed that later, this slacker would suddenly strike it rich in the city, buying up several buildings in one go? He'd throw wads of cash at me, letting me spend however I pleased. Looking back at my sister, she couldn't stand the farm smell on her husband, flatly refusing to even share a bed with him. She ended up secretly hooking up with some other lowlife in town. I remember the day I went to her place, carrying our mother's words, to persuade her to live a decent life. When she saw me, dripping with gold bracelets and jewels, her eyes burned with envy. The moment I turned to pour a glass of water, she grabbed a hammer from behind the door and slammed it into the back of my head. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the busybody came to our house to arrange our marriages. My sister reacted even faster than I did. She grabbed the woman's arm and screeched, "I'll switch. I want to marry Jake Dogan." The whole family was stunned. Even the busybody gasped. I, however, just slowly sipped my tea, trying my best not to laugh out loud. A brilliant plan on her part, but she had no idea that all of Jake's wealth wasn't earned by him at all. It was all the fruit of my hard work from our past life. Besides, with her temper, could she really handle the troublemaking Jake? "Mom, I'd rather die than marry Cole. I'll only marry Jake Dogan in this life." My sister was still screaming, pounding the table. The neighbors gathered around, staring as if at a circus act. Only I knew exactly what was going on. It seemed my sister remembered our past life too. Let the show begin. In our past life, my mother wanted my sister, Chloe, to marry the wealthiest, most capable man in town, the pig farmer, Cole. She casually pushed me off onto Jake Dogan. Then, she took the money Jake's family gave us for the wedding and used it to pad my sister's dowry. My own dowry consisted of a few threadbare quilts. She had comforted me, saying, "I can't let your sister suffer in her marriage. Our family has to support her." That Jake Dogan, he looks like the type to spoil his wife, not like your sister's situation. You're marrying into a life of ease. Hearing that Chloe now wanted to marry Jake, Mom slapped her thigh in frustration. "Did you eat something bad last night? Are you out of your mind?" Chloe just grinned like an idiot and pulled Mom into the main room. I could hear them whispering intimately. I don't know what she said, but Mom's expression shifted from shock to disbelief, and finally, to acceptance. With some hesitation, she agreed to the switch. That night, as the crows slept in the old oak tree, the light in Mom's room was still on. I pushed the door open with a creak. She turned from the bed, and the loving smile on her face vanished when she saw it was me. She turned her head back to her work. I advised her to get some rest. She said dismissively, "While I'm still able, I need to make a few more wedding quilts for your sister. She's not like you. She sacrificed for you, marrying Jake so you could have a good life. You'd better remember to help her out in the future. If she does well, you'll do well." I looked at the red quilt embroidered with a dragon and phoenix. "Mom," I asked casually, "what about mine?" Her needlework paused. Her tone was strange. "You're marrying the richest man in town, Cole. Why are you still trying to squeeze work out of your old mother? Even a greedy landlord isn't as calculating as you." After hearing that, I turned and left, closing the door behind me. I didn't tell her it was going to rain that night, so she should bring in the cotton she'd left out to dry. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of crying in the yard. I heard Mom wailing, "Oh, heavens, are you blind? My dear daughter is getting married, and now the cotton is all wet and moldy. What am I going to do?" I snickered under my blanket. A disastrous marriage paired with moldy quilts, a perfect match for my dear sister. Chloe, annoyed by the noise, threw off her covers, tossed on a robe, and stormed out the door, complaining at Mom. "That's enough. Are a few ratty quilts really worth all this fuss? If you really cared, you'd get me a pair of gold bracelets for my dowry." Mom's crying stopped abruptly. Her mind, suddenly clear, lit up. She slapped her own face. "Why didn't I think of that? My daughter is so smart." She turned to me. "Cole's family gave us a $3,000 contribution for the wedding. That's enough to buy a pair of 40-gram gold bracelets." I clenched my fists under the covers, taking my wedding money, tossing me a few ruined quilts, and buying gold bracelets for my sister. "Chloe, is that the plan?" Chloe got dressed, glanced back at me feigning sleep, and leaned against the door with a sneer. "Sleeps like a log. You two are a perfect match." "Not me. I'm going to be the wife of the future millionaire. Your name is Tessa. You're destined to shovel pig feed with that farmer and watch me dripping in gold and silver." With that parting shot, she waltzed off to cultivate her relationship with Jake Dogan. My sour mood instantly vanished. If I remembered correctly, Jake was probably lying in the bed of the town widow, Sarah, right about now, but since my sister was so eager to marry him, she could probably overlook that little detail. After all, there were much bigger landmines waiting for her down the road. A month later, the whole town was gathered at our house for the wedding feast. Chloe had suggested we have a joint wedding to show off how festive our family was. I knew the real reason was that Jake couldn't afford a reception, so she'd shamelessly proposed the idea to save face. I had to smile. Everyone knew Cole wasn't just the richest in our town. No one in the whole county could compare. His family raised a dozen black-haired pigs in their backyard, all fat and healthy. Big-shot buyers from the city even came down personally to buy them at a high price. At a time when most families could only hope for a taste of meat on holidays, Cole's family ate it every single day. In my past life, I would drag my exhausted, starving body home after a long day of farm work and smell the pork cooking at Cole's house. I was so envious that Chloe had married him. She didn't have to work in the fields and got to eat meat every day. Sometimes, Cole would give me a few racks of ribs. I'd blush and refuse several times before reluctantly accepting. I suddenly remembered the town wives gossiping, talking about the muscles rippling under Cole's shirt, saying they'd never seen a man so strong and impressive. And yet, Cole had a handsome, sharp face that would stand out even 20 years later. In an era that prized a leaner look, I was jealous that my sister didn't appreciate him, but also relieved that she'd mistaken a diamond for a stone, leaving such a man untouched. This time, it was my turn to eat well. The sound of firecrackers echoed all day, filling the air with the thick smell of gunpowder. Kids giggled and crowded around the doorway, peeking at me. When I caught them, they blushed. "The bride is so pretty. Her skin is so white, whiter than the snow last winter." My new sister-in-law, Callie, pulled a handful of wedding candy from her pocket, gave it to them, and shooed them away. She came into the room, set down a red wooden tray, and picked out a pastry she knew I liked. Handing it to me, I gobbled it down, surprised to find it was 100 times more delicious than any I'd had before. Callie stroked the fabric of my wedding dress with envy. "No wonder this dress cost $10,000. Look at the embroidery, the tailoring. It's got to be worth that much." I nearly choked on my pastry when I heard $10,000. Callie quickly handed me some tea to help me wash it down. I looked down at the crumbs on my dress, heartbroken. "This dress is so expensive. I got it dirty. Will your brother be mad?" Callie stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. "That fool? He'd be overjoyed. Why would he be mad at you, Tessa?" I suddenly remembered that in my last life, Chloe wore the same generic red dress as every other bride in town. "Whoever wore a custom-tailored white wedding gown," Callie told me, "before anyone even came to your house about marriage. My brother had me find out your measurements and ordered this from the city." I was stunned, unsure what to say. 1,000 questions swirled in my mind. My gaze fell back to the pastry. Callie winked at me. "And this pastry? My brother knew you liked it, so he bought it from the city, too." My lips parted slightly, my eyes shimmering. I couldn't wait to see my groom. Could it be that all those times he'd shown me kindness in our past life, giving me pork, or sending me a large sum of money through a friend when he heard I was starting a business in the city, wasn't just him being nice to his sister-in-law? I thought it was because he loved Chloe, but maybe it had nothing to do with her. Maybe he had loved me all along. Chloe had a good figure and managed to make the generic red dress look stunning. From the moment she appeared before Jake Dogan, his eyes never left her. She lifted her chin slightly, like a proud magpie. The townspeople kept congratulating Jake on landing such a beauty. He'd never heard so many compliments in his 18 years of life, and it went straight to his head. Unfortunately for them, all that praise shifted to me the moment I stepped out the door. In the 90s, people in our small town were unworldly. They only saw the outside world in the movies shown in the town square. The married women were green with envy. "Chloe, is that a wedding dress? Oh my God, it's gorgeous. That Cole really knows how to treat a wife, willing to rent such an expensive dress." Chloe, standing opposite me, looked like she was about to grind her teeth to dust. She remembered wearing a red dress in her past life. Why did Tessa get to wear a real wedding gown? Did she deserve it? "Tessa, you'd better be careful with that. If you ruin it, Cole will probably get mad enough to call off the wedding." Someone heard her sour tone and couldn't help but sneer. Well, why didn't your Jake rent one for you? Can't afford it? Or did he spend all his money paying off the family of that girl who saw him naked? Chloe's face turned beet red. I covered my mouth and giggled, feeling light and joyful. Chloe looked like she was about to crack a molar. What are you laughing at? If I hadn't turned him down, do you think you would have had a chance? Who said I wanted to marry you, Chloe? Just as I was about to fire back, a deep, pleasant male voice came from behind me. It was Cole. The moment I turned, I was mesmerized. Cole was wearing a white suit that matched my dress, making him look like a dashing hero from a movie. The eyes of the other women were glued to him, all of them wondering why they weren't so lucky. He gently put his arm around my shoulders, standing with me, facing Chloe. Tell me the name of the man who said that. I'll have someone go slap him. To leave a pearl like you for a pebble, people would think I'm an idiot, he added. And we're not so poor we have to rent a dress. I bought this. Even if Tessa wanted to use it as kindling, I'd be happy. When the crowd heard the dress was bought, they all looked at me with a mixture of envy and jealousy. Tessa's luck was unbelievable, marrying a rich man like Cole. Forget eating meat every day. Even the dog she raised would eat better than Chloe's family. Chloe looked like she was about to have an aneurysm. She feigned holding her nose, a disgusted look on her face. I never said I wanted to marry you. Who would want a man who stinks of pigs? I leaned in and sniffed. All I could smell was the fresh, clean scent of soap. Callie jumped in to call her out. Don't you dare talk nonsense. My brother hired people to take care of the pigs for days just to marry Tessa. He was terrified of having any farm smell on him. He used 3 whole bars of soap, scared that Tessa would be disgusted by him. Chloe's face went from red to yellow, yellow to black, and black to white. That's impossible. I shot her a defiant smile. I guess it just depends on who you're marrying. For the right person, you're afraid nothing you do is good enough. For the wrong person, why would they deserve to be cherished? Chloe looked like she was about to faint from rage. I linked my arm with Cole's and went with him to greet our guests. I took one last look at Chloe, chugging a glass of water, and thought, we're just getting started. The real show is yet to come. Halfway through the feast, everyone was stuffed and satisfied. Every dish had meat, cooked in every way imaginable, braised, steamed, stewed, stir-fried. The flavors were just as varied, sweet, sour, spicy, and savory. The spread was so impressive it stunned me. I worried Cole had emptied his entire savings. His face flushed from the toasts, just stared at me with love-struck eyes. As long as you're happy, it's all worth it. I smiled coyly. Oh, so only I'm happy? You're not? He paused, then grinned. No, I'm the happiest person here. Just as we sat down, a sharp, angry shout came from the entrance. My heart leaped with joy. I looked up. It was Sarah, the widow who'd been involved with Jake. She was here. Sarah stared at Jake, her eyes brimming with tears, a look that could break a man's heart. She clutched her stomach and fell to her knees in front of my sister. Her voice was loud, ensuring everyone could hear. I didn't want to make a scene for you, Jake. I really didn't. I can endure it. She paused dramatically. But the baby in my belly can't. Her baby was here too. Chloe pointed a trembling finger at Sarah before fainting into our mother's arms. The scandal spread like wildfire. Within a month, people in the neighboring towns had heard the story of the groom who got a widow pregnant and had his wedding crashed. To keep things from escalating, my mother secretly gave the gold bracelets she'd bought for Chloe to Sarah, telling her to go to the city and get an abortion. When Chloe came to and heard about this, she didn't throw a fit at our mother or confront Jake. Instead, she acted like a perfectly devoted wife. She cooked meals at home, waiting obediently for Jake to return. After eating, she'd pick up a hoe and head to the fields. The neighborhood aunts found it bizarre. Did Chloe lose her mind from the shock? Back when she was single, she made Tessa do everything, even wipe the table. Now she not only willingly marries a guy like Jake but also acts like his servant. Forget it. Chloe's just crazy. All she talks about is how Jake is going to make it big. She looks down on all of us now. When Chloe overheard them gossiping behind her back, she didn't get angry. She just lifted her chin like a proud goose. A few days later, I heard Chloe was going around trying to borrow money for Jake to start a business in the city. When people turned her down, not even bothering to be polite, they would mock her. Chloe would just cross her arms and sneer. You people don't get it. My Jake is destined for great things. If you help us now, we'll remember you. If you don't come crying to us for a loan later. An older woman, Mrs. Lee, spat on the ground in front of her. Disgusting. What great things is your Jake capable of? Don't let him get arrested in the city. Your eyes must be full of crap, and it's infected your brain. Now get out of here before you bring your bad luck on my kids. She then picked up a basin of foot-washing water and splashed it all over Chloe. Not only did Chloe fail to borrow any money, but she also ended up soaked and humiliated. She stumbled home, muttering the same thing over and over. A good wife is the key to a man's success. I'll sacrifice now, and he'll reward me with a fortune later. As long as I endure this, all the money Jake earns will be mine to manage. The next morning, Callie opened the door to find my mother and Chloe standing outside. What are you two doing here? Chloe ignored Callie and dragged our mother straight toward my room. Callie couldn't stop them in time, and Chloe had already yanked open the curtain to my bed. I clutched the covers to my chest, startled and angry. I glared at her. It's the crack of dawn. Why aren't you at your own house? Did Sarah take over your bed, so you came to take your frustration out on me? Chloe's expression stiffened. What nonsense are you talking about? That slut ran off with some other man. Jake was just led astray by her. I found it both hilarious and absurd. A scumbag like Jake needed someone to lead him astray? I glanced around the room and noticed Cole wasn't there. Chloe's eyes held a hint of pity. Sigh. It's no wonder. You being with a man who stinks of pigs. If I were married to him, I wouldn't let him in my bed either. My mother sat on the edge of the bed and took my hand. Your sister is here to help you. She knows you're not happy married to Cole and wants to find you a better match. Their little duet confused me. My life is perfectly fine. What do I need help with? On my wedding night, Cole had turned off the lights. By the pale moonlight filtering through the window, he started to help me out of my heavy wedding dress when I suddenly felt a warm gush. My face darkened. I quickly pushed him away. Cole, thinking he'd scared me, apologized immediately. I'm sorry, I don't have any experience. Did I hurt you? I blushed. What do I do? I think I got my period. Now it was Cole's turn to blush. On our first night of marriage, Cole and I just held each other to sleep. Neither of us slept well. The next day, seeing the dark circles under my eyes, Cole voluntarily took his blanket to sleep in the living room. I looked out at the festively decorated yard and sighed in frustration. It looked like I'd have to wait a little longer to truly be with Cole. I sneered at Chloe. You should worry about Jake before you worry about me. The whole town knows what kind of man your husband is. Chloe was about to curse me out but remembered why she was here and swallowed her anger. She put on a look of sisterly concern. You're my little sister. How could I ever hurt you? It's just a pity that after marrying Cole, all you get to do is smell pigs all day. I got dressed under the covers and then threw them off. Chloe and Mom stared, their eyes fixed on the silk pajamas I was wearing, the kind they'd only seen in movies. They were green with envy. Chloe looked like she wanted to glue her hands to the fabric. Is that the kind from the movies? I nodded. You get what you pay for. It's so comfortable it feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. My mother let out a gasp. I followed her gaze and saw she was holding a pack of sanitary pads. What's this? I've never seen anything like it. Having lived a second life, Chloe knew exactly what they were. In the early 90s, no one in the countryside used disposable pads. They used cloth strips stuffed with cotton or plant ash. A thought nagged at Chloe. In her past life, when she was married to Cole, she never got to wear a wedding dress or use sanitary pads. Her period had started around the same time as mine, and she could feel the discomfort of the crude cloth strip. She kept silently telling herself that as long as she stuck with Jake until he got rich, she would have all the gold and silver I had in my past life. But she never imagined that I would be living even more comfortably now. While she was stuck cleaning up Jake's endless messes, Chloe bit the inside of her cheek so hard her nails dug into her palms, but she seemed not to feel the pain. She grabbed our mother and fled. She had some sense, just not much. As she left, she also took the pack of sanitary pads. Just outside the door, they ran into Cole coming out of the kitchen. He was wearing a clean white shirt and black trousers, looking sharp and neat. Chloe froze, as if remembering her past life with him. Back then, he'd be gone before dawn, and when he came back from the pigsty at night, he'd be a mess. Chloe remembered how the pig smell on him would ruin her appetite, even when there was a fragrant bowl of stewed ribs on the table. Snapping out of her memory, she looked around the tidy yard and noticed 2 rose bushes planted by the house. Chloe's gaze toward Cole was filled with resentment and blame, blaming him for not giving her this kind of life. If he had been like this back then, Why would she have cheated on him with that bum? It wasn't her fault she'd cheated. Cole had brought it on himself. When Cole saw Chloe and my mother, his smile faded. Since getting married, he had taken my words to heart and hired staff to handle the pig farm. He devoted all his attention to me, terrified that the girl of his dreams would be blown away by a gust of wind. He would even get up several times a night to sneak into the main house and watch me sleep for a while before going back to bed, satisfied. Cole, wanting to be good to my family for my sake, politely asked, "Why don't you stay for a meal before you go?" My mother, smelling the fragrant aroma of meat in the air, the first time since the wedding, was immediately rooted to the spot. "Oh, yes, I've never had a meal cooked by my son-in-law before." Chloe, unable to drag our mother away, reluctantly stayed for the meal. By now, Callie had finished sweeping the fallen leaves in the yard, washed her hands, and was serving up bowls of sweet and creamy corn and sweet potato porridge. Cole placed a freshly cooked dish of braised pork ribs and another of stir-fried pork with garlic shoots on the table. The smell was enough to wake the neighbor's dog. Chloe rubbed her empty stomach. Since marrying Jake, the only place she could get a hot breakfast was at our mother's house. She drank 2 bowls of porridge in one go, her stomach bloating like a balloon, before she reluctantly put down her bowl. Just then, Cole started peeling a shrimp for me. Chloe stared. "Where did you get shrimp?" Callie, still remembering how Chloe had insulted her brother, said sarcastically, "I told you, when Tessa married into our family, she was going to be spoiled. She wasn't feeling well, so my brother went all the way to the city and bought 2 pounds of shrimp. He's keeping them in a tank. Whenever Tessa wants some, he just scoops them out." My mother, hearing about the fairy tale life I was living, tugged on Chloe's sleeve and whispered, "It looks like Tessa isn't going to listen to us and cause trouble with Cole." I popped the peeled shrimp into my mouth and chewed, glancing sideways at Chloe. I wondered what she was thinking. Probably about where her future tycoon husband was off philandering now. As they were leaving, Chloe couldn't resist a final jab. "Don't think you're so much better off than me. You just wait a few years. Jake will definitely make a fortune. Then I'll be a tycoon's wife, while you're still just a pig farmer's wife." My mother chimed in, trying to brainwash me. "Your sisters. If your brother-in-law does well, you'll do well too. Give your sister $30,000 for her husband to start a business in the city. If he makes it big, he'll surely remember your kindness." I crossed my arms and rolled my eyes. "Forget it. My brother-in-law is such a capable man. I'm sure he doesn't need money from a pig farmer." I saw my sister open her mouth to argue and slammed the door in her face. A few days later, I was sitting on the curb with a bowl of sweet, roasted sunflower seeds, listening to the neighborhood ladies gossip. "Tessa, your brother-in-law went to the city to do business. Why didn't you have Cole go with him?" Mrs. Lee asked, grabbing a handful of seeds from my bowl. Facing the curious stares of the others, I kept my expression neutral. "My brother-in-law is a natural-born businessman, or so my sister says. This small town can't contain him. But Cole and I just got married, so we're not going to jump into that excitement." Old Mrs. White added, "Exactly. Cole's a good boy. He raised his sister all by himself. Even if he doesn't go to the city, he'll do just fine right here in town." After a little while, I saw my sister walking down the road, carrying a hoe. Mrs. Lee shouted to her, "Chloe, why didn't you go to the city with your husband to start a business?" Chloe wiped the sweat from her brow, squinting against the harsh sun. "Business is men's work. I'm just staying home to take care of things for him." I was shocked by her appearance. I hadn't seen her for just a few days. Chloe's fair skin had been tanned dark and rough by the sun, making her look several years older. Fine lines had appeared at the corners of her eyes. Our eyes met, and Chloe's haughty expression returned. "Just you wait. My Jake will definitely do better than a pig farmer. Tessa, I almost feel sorry for you. When my husband comes back rich, if you kneel and beg me, maybe I'll ask him to give Cole a job as a handyman." Mrs. White was furious. "You're the only one who thinks that Jake is some kind of treasure. Anyone can see Cole is 1,000 times better than him." I stopped Mrs. White. "Don't stoop to her level. She's already married to Jake. Just let her be." The older women around us roared with laughter. Having failed to win any points, Chloe stomped off, muttering curses under her breath. After she left, it was time for lunch. Mrs. White sniffed the air, smelling the meat cooking at my house, and swallowed hard. "Tessa, what are you making that smells so good?" The other women looked at me with longing. I boasted a little. "Oh, nothing much. Callie just made some cornbread, and Cole slaughtered a pig this morning. We're stewing the freshest ribs with some potatoes from the garden. Threw some noodles in there too. I watched their mouths water and then put on a troubled expression. Sigh, my sister wouldn't want to live this kind of life. On my way home, I ran into Sarah, who was loading her things onto an ox cart. When she saw me, she shyly tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. I smiled warmly at her and took her hand. Leaving this place is the right choice. You should have left long ago. In my past life, after I married Jake, I discovered he was constantly forcing himself on Sarah. When I found her, she thought I was there to cause trouble. A lonely, helpless woman in this predatory little town. The men wanted her. The women were jealous of her. She never expected that I would give her half of my family's food supply and urge her to leave. Sarah never forgot it. Later, when I had established myself in the city, starting a small clothing wholesale business that was taking off, I was cornered by local thugs demanding protection money. Just then, a lavishly dressed Sarah appeared. The thugs saw her and scattered like mice seeing a cat. I learned from her that she was actually a stolen child. Her birth parents were influential people in the city and had never stopped looking for her. As a woman doing business alone in the city, I would have been eaten alive without Sarah's help. Sarah didn't let Jake off the hook either. She helped me get a divorce and then reported Jake to the police, landing him in jail for a few years. During that time, he was bullied relentlessly by people Sarah had arranged. When he got out, he was a broken man. With her anger abated, Sarah let him go, letting him rot in the countryside to fend for himself. But I never imagined he would brag about how much money he'd made in the city, lies that ultimately led my sister to take my life. The day I was reborn, the first thing I did was find Sarah. I subtly asked her to do me a favor, to crash my wedding. I also told her to go to the city where her real parents were, suggesting that fate might help them find each other sooner. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, sister. If you hadn't given me that idea, I would have never escaped that animal. She pulled a red cloth from her pocket. Inside lay a pair of gold bracelets. These aren't mine. I should give them back to you. I quickly covered her hand, glancing around, seeing no one. I sighed in relief. Sister, you'll need money in the city. Consider these bracelets a gift from me. Sarah looked at me in disbelief. How can I? These are so valuable. If you hadn't suggested I fake the pregnancy to make a scene, I would never have gotten them. I waved her off, indicating it was nothing. In my previous life, I was so rich I needed a small house just to store all the luxury goods I bought. I was long past being impressed by wealth. To me, these bracelets were nothing compared to Sarah's future. Sarah carefully put the bracelets away, tears streaming down her face. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. Sister, I don't know how I can ever repay this kindness. If we ever meet again, I will do everything in my power to help you. That night, I sat in the yard, enjoying the warm spring breeze, waiting for the right moment. Cole came out from his bath, drying his wet hair with one hand. When he saw me smiling and walking toward him, he immediately stood up straight. I took the towel from his hand and stood on my tiptoes to help him dry his hair. We were so close, our hot breaths mingling. Cole couldn't take it anymore. He pulled me into a tight embrace, burying his face in my neck and inhaling deeply. His natural, masculine scent made my legs go weak. I gently tugged at the belt of his robe, my voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Can I sleep with you tonight? Cole's dark eyes smoldered. He swept me up into his arms and carried me into the bedroom. Startled, I clung tightly to his neck. I met his teasing, smiling eyes and shyly buried my face in his firm chest. A night of passion followed, wild and untamed. Afterward, I lay dazed in Cole's arms, letting him gently clean me up with a warm, damp towel.